Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So we're doing something a little different today.
Yeah, a bit of a change of pace.
It is. Usually, we're dissecting a book, maybe some articles, something that's been polished and published.
Right.
Today, I am staring at a stack of PDFs that, I have to be honest, look like the most mind-numbing administrative paperwork imaginable.
I can see why you'd say that.
They're labeled returnable schedules,
Yeah.
numbered F1.0 through F11.0. It just looks like a checklist for a construction bid.
Yeah.
But you're making the case that this isn't just paperwork. This is where billion-dollar projects are actually won or lost.
They absolutely are. And I know administrative forms sounds incredibly dry, but you have to reframe how you're looking at them. In the world of mega projects, we're talking power plants, refineries, massive infrastructure. This isn't paperwork. It's the genetic code of the deal.
A genetic code.
We're analyzing what's known as a lump sum turnkey environment today.
Okay, LSTK. Let's unpack that right away, because I think that frames everything else in this stack. Lump sum turnkey.
It's exactly what it sounds like. The contractor promises to build the entire facility, to turn the key for one single fixed price.
So the employer basically says, here's $1 billion. Call me when it's running.
That's the idea.
Which, on the surface, sounds simple. But in reality, that lump sum is a huge gamble.
It's a massive gamble. The contractor is betting they can build it for less, and the employer is betting the price won't spiral out of control.
Right, because of disasters, unforeseen problems.
Exactly. It's a huge transfer of risk. And that is where these schedules, F1 through F11, come in. They are the fine print of that gamble. They define exactly what's being promised, how payments work, and, I think most importantly, who pays the bill when reality stops matching the spreadsheet.
So if it rains for a month straight, or the price of steel goes through the roof?
These forms decide who bleeds money.
Okay, let's decode this. We're looking at a system of risk allocation, and I want to start with the timeline. Schedule F1.0, the key dates and milestones schedule. It really feels like the backbone of the whole thing.
It is the backbone. Everything hangs off F1.0.
Now, I see the standard stuff. You've got a commencement date and a time for completion, a start and a finish. But the detail here, the internal milestones, feel like where the real tension is.
That's absolutely right. I mean, if you just had a start and end date, the contractor could just disappear into a black box for 3 years and then either emerge with a finished plan or a complete disaster.
And the employer can't take that risk.
No way. So F1.0 forces them to commit to checkpoints. You see the engineering milestones there.
Yeah, I see detailed design at 30%, 60%, and 90% completion.
So those aren't just progress bars on a screen, they are stop gates. The employer's engineers get to audit the work at each of those points. If the design is flawed at 30%, you stop the train.
You don't pour concrete on a bad drawing.
You do not. It keeps the contractor on a very short leash.
I also spotted a milestone here. Equipment shipping transport complete, DDP.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone not in logistics, DDP is delivered duty paid. That feels like a very significant detail.
Oh, it's massive. It means the contractor is responsible for that giant turbine or that reactor until it is physically sitting on the project site.
With taxes paid, customs cleared, everything.
Everything. So if the ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal or, I don't know, a customs agent decides to hold the cargo hostage for 6 months.
That's the contractor's problem.
Entirely their problem. They can't claim a delay. They can't ask for more money. They signed up for DDP in F1.0.
Wow. Okay, so then we get to the finish line. There's a distinction here I think is crucial. Taking over versus performance tests.
Ah, yes. This is where the lawsuits often start. Taking over is just about custody. The keys get handed over. The security guards might change their uniforms.
But performance tests, that's the final exam.
That is the final exam. The contractor has to prove the facility actually does what it's supposed to do.
Does it produce 500 megawatts? Can it refine 100,000 barrels a day?
Precisely. And if it only makes 480 megawatts, well, you don't get that performance test certificate. And there is always a massive chunk of money tied to that one piece of paper.
Which brings us perfectly to what you called the gotcha document. You flagged Schedule F11.0, the Certificate of Verification, as maybe the most dangerous page in the whole stack.
It's the poison pill. So in these contracts, the employer usually provides a preliminary design, the FEED, it's called, front-end engineering design. Think of it as the rough draft.
Okay.
Schedule F11.0 asks the contractor to sign a letter that says, "We have checked your rough draft and we certify it is adequate, accurate, and sufficient."
That feels incredibly aggressive. It's basically, here's my homework, Now you sign it and say it's perfect, so if there's a mistake, it's your fault, not mine.
That is exactly what it is. The employer washes their hands of their own design work, the contractor adopts it, they own any errors.
So if the pipes don't fit where the employer drew them, the contractor pays to fix it. The contractor pays, but, and this is the crucial part, there's a twist, the rely upon information schedule.
The escape hatch. It is the only escape hatch. The contractor signs the verification except for the specific items listed on the schedule. They're saying, look, I accept the blueprint, but I can't possibly verify these specific facts. I'm relying on your data for these.
And the examples here are things like geotechnic data, so soil quality, and bathymetric data, which is underwater depth.
Right. Think about it. A bidder can't drill 1,000 boreholes to check the soil before they even win the job. It would cost millions. They have to trust the employer's data.
So they're drawing a line in the sand. I promise my building will stand up, provided the ground isn't quicksand like you told me it wasn't.
That's it right there. If the design fails because the math was wrong, contractor pays. If it fails because the soil data was wrong, the employer pays. F11.0 defines that boundary.
It's a legal shield. I own the blueprint, you own the dirt.
You own the dirt. That is a perfect summary of F11.0.
All right, let's move from liability to what everyone really cares about, the money. Schedule F2.0, pricing, and F3.0, payment. F2.0 is the big price tag.
The lump sum.
But it's not just one number. It's broken down really meticulously. Engineering, procurement, construction. Why does the employer need that level of detail if it's a fixed price?
Well, two main reasons. First, it's for managing changes later on. If you decide to cancel one part of the job, you need to know how much that part was worth.
Okay.
But second, it's about understanding cash flow. They want to see the breakdown between, say, materials and labor.
I noticed a really specific rule in here about materials. It says, all rates and prices shall be based on the use of new materials only.
Yeah. No shopping on eBay for nuclear-grade valves.
It even says secondhand goods require specific approval.
This is all about supply chain integrity. In critical infrastructure, you need to know the provenance of every single bolt. You need the certificates, the warranty. You don't want a refurbished valve from some plant that was decommissioned in the 90s.
And that puts huge pressure on the contractor to lock in prices for new stuff.
Huge pressure. And speaking of locking in prices, the schedule says they are fixed and not subject to any fluctuation. It even includes exchange rates.
Oof. That's the really scary part for a bidder.
It is. I mean, if you're a European contractor building in Africa, buying steel from China, US dollars, you're juggling 3, maybe 4 currencies. If the dollar spikes, your entire profit margin could just evaporate overnight.
So that lump sum in F2.0 has to have enough contingency, enough padding to absorb that risk.
It has to.
So F2.0 is the total pie. F3.0, the payment schedule, is how you get a slice. And it's definitely not all up front.
Oh, definitely not. The employer wants to pay as late as possible to keep leverage. The contractor wants the money as early as possible to pay their suppliers. F3.0 is where they meet in the middle.
I see a mention of an advance payment. Is that the startup capital?
It is, usually about 10 or 15% of the total price. It helps the contractor mobilize, get equipment to the site, build the camp, but it's not a gift. It's basically an interest-free loan.
And they have to secure it with an advance payment bond.
Correct. The employer gives you, say, $100 million, but you have to give them a bank guarantee for that same amount. If you take the money and run, they cash the bond.
And then you pay it back.
Yep, it's reconciled. They just deduct it from your invoices over the first year or so until it's paid off.
Okay, so after that initial loan, the money flows in 2 different streams: progress payments and milestone payments. What's the strategy there?
So progress payments are for the grind. You poured 5,000 cubic meters of concrete this month. Okay, we'll pay you for that volume. It just keeps the lights on.
Right.
But milestone payments are the carrot on the stick.
Ah, so these tie back to that first schedule we talked about, F1.0.
Exactly. You might have a $5 million payment attached specifically to milestone 7, 90% design review complete. If you are 89% done, you get 0.
Ouch.
It forces the contractor to focus on closing things out, not just being busy. And the trigger for payment is always a piece of paper, a certificate of milestone completion. Cash follows paper. In this industry, if you don't have the signed certificate, your invoice is just a piece of paper.
Okay, so that's the plan and the money. But projects are messy. You dig a hole, you find an old pipeline. The scope always changes. That brings us to schedules F4.0 and F5.0. The chaos mechanism.
The variations mechanism, this is my favorite part because this is where the arguments always happen. When the scope changes, say the employer decides they want a bigger building, you can't stop the whole project to negotiate the price of an electrician's time. You need a pre-agreed menu.
And F4.0 is the menu for people, the schedule of rates. It lists everyone from the project director all the way down to a draftsman.
It's a hierarchy of labor, and look at the columns. It's not just senior engineer, it's senior engineer home office, site office, and HVEC.
HVEC, High Value Engineering Center.
Which is the polite industry term for offshoring. We're talking engineering hubs in India, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, places where the cost of an engineering hour is much, much lower than in London or Houston.
So the schedule forces transparency. The employer is saying, I'll pay for the work, but I need to know if I'm paying a London rate or a Mumbai rate.
That's it. It stops the contractor from playing games with the rates, paying a low rate to their own employee, but charging the client a high one.
And what if a role isn't on the list?
The default clause. It says the rate is determined based on cost, i.e. open book.
And contractors must hate that.
They hate open book. It means they have to show all the receipts, their payroll, everything. They only get reimbursed for their actual cost plus a tiny fee. There's no hidden profit. That's why they try so hard to list every possible job title in F4.0.
Then F5.0 is the menu for the machines. The day rate schedule.
Yep, cranes, excavators, welding rigs. And again, look at the granularity. You have a normal day rate, an overtime rate, a night shift rate.
And the standby rate, that one jumped out at me.
So critical. Imagine you rent a massive crane. It costs thousands of dollars a day. You get it to the site, but the foundation isn't ready. The crane just sits there.
The burning taxi meter.
Exactly. The contractor is just burning cash. The standby rate is the pre-agreed compensation for that idle time. It's lower than the operating rate, sure, but it covers the rental cost. Without it, you'd have a massive fight on your hands.
It also mentions mob and demob, mobilization and demobilization.
Right. You only get paid to bring the bulldozer to the site if it wasn't already there for another job. It stops a contractor from double dipping.
So we have the timeline, the money, the change management. Now let's talk about the actual team and strategy. F10.0, F9.0, F7.0. This feels like the who and the how.
These are the identity documents for the project.
Let's start with F10.0, module prefabrication. This isn't for every project, is it?
No, this is only if you're using modularization. This is where you build the plant in giant chunks like Lego blocks in a shipyard somewhere, maybe in Korea or China, and then you ship them to the site to bolt them together.
That must completely change the cost structure.
Totally. You have way less labor on the actual site, but your logistics costs are through the roof.
Yeah.
F10.0 asks for the norm hours per unit, which is really asking how efficient is your shipyard.
Okay. Then we have F9.0, key personnel. This feels very personal. They're asking for names.
It is personal. When you award a billion-dollar contract, you're not just hiring company X, you're hiring specific people. You want that project director who has a track record of delivering.
So you have to submit their CVs.
Their CVs.
Yeah.
And the schedule says they shall remain on the project.
So that prevents the old bait and switch.
Exactly. The classic move. The contractor wins the bid by parading their A-team, and the second the contract is signed.
They vanish, off to the next sales pitch, and you get the B team.
In the B team, F9.0 is the contractual handcuff that keeps the A team in their seats.
And wrapping up, we have F7.0 for proposed subcontractors and F6.0, the insurance schedule.
Yeah, F7 is about transparency, who's doing the electrical work, who's doing the concrete, and F6 is the final safety net. If the whole thing blows up, who pays?
So putting this all together, this whole stack of dry forms, it really does tell a complete story.
It does. F2.0 sets the price. F3.0 controls the cash flow, the oxygen. F1.0 sets the pace of the whole thing.
F4.0 and F5.0 handle the surprises.
And F11.0 is the lock. It locks the contractor into owning the design. It's an incredible system, really.
It's a system designed to buy certainty in a world that is inherently uncertain.
That's the perfect way to put it. In a mega project, ambiguity is the enemy. Ambiguity is expensive. These schedules are all about squeezing out every single drop of ambiguity before you even break ground.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought, going back to F11.0. You called it the poison pill because of that rely upon list.
Yes.
If Schedule F2.0 promises a fixed price, doesn't F11.0 basically make that promise a potential illusion?
That is the provocative thought. We call these fixed price contracts, but the stability of that price hangs by a single thread, and that thread is the rely upon list in F11.0. If the soil data is wrong, if just one of those facts provided by the employer turns out to be incorrect.
the whole house of cards comes down.
The fixed price illusion shatters. The contractor submits a massive claim, the timeline in F1.0 slips, the day rates in F5.0 start ticking. The entire financial structure of a billion-dollar project can unravel because of one bad soil sample.
So the DNA of the project is only as strong as the data it's built on.
Always.
Well, there you have it. The secret life of construction schedules,
Yep.
F1 through F11. I will never look at a construction site the same way again. Thanks for decoding this with us.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, next time you see a crane just sitting idle on the skyline, remember, someone's probably collecting a standby rate for that.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
If you are interested in buying the templates, then please visit our shop. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching and see you next time.